This movie is not something that you sink your teeth into. It's a movie that sinks its teeth into you and won't let go. This is one of the best horror debuts I've seen in a long time, but there are some caveats. I'm going to talk about that and more when I break down Talk to Me by A24. Let's start with the premise. When a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits by using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on a new thrill until one of them unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. The movie story is gripping from beginning to end, not while wholly original. I see some influences from It Follows, the first Evil Dead, and even Flatliners, but the emotion and the themes that they tackle here are done in a way that makes this movie stand out from others. It reminds me of It Follows because this terrifying entity is terrorizing these Aussie teens while, going on their greatest weaknesses and preying on that while also disguising themselves as humans. And then once you're possessed and the entity is with you, it reminds me of Evil Dead because there's a bit of a campy moments throughout the film with the entity itself and how it speaks to its host and how things happen to each character when they're taken over. There's a goriness and a gruesomeness that reminds me of Evil Dead as well, especially since I just recently watched those movies and Evil Dead Rise came out early this year. That I was like, whoa, like there's not a bunch of gore and a bunch of violence in this film, but when they do it, it's very, very violent, and it's you cherish it more because of the scarcity, but how crazy it goes. Despite this being a better film overall to me, this reminds me of Flatliners because these teens are either just really, stupid young teens or teens with trauma, trying to run from that feeling of loss and using this embalmed hand to get the next high and try to detach from what they're feeling in the world. What sets this movie apart from those other films is that, except maybe Evil Dead, because that is directed really well, is the fantastic directing by the Philippou brothers. These are two YouTubers who are now making their first movie through A24. They did a great job of not only setting the tone, but writing and directing teens. A lot of times they don't feel like actual teens in a lot of horror movies, just regular dramas as well. But this is the most authentic I felt teens have felt in a movie in a long, long time. And I really, really enjoy that. It would help relate to these characters a lot more because they felt like actual human beings you may know and not caricatures. They also capture the supernatural thing haunting the kids, but they can't explain it to the adults, so the adults think that they're just doing drugs kind of thing you will see in movies, but they do it in such a way that it grounds it in this personal reality that makes it worse to watch and harder to watch. And the script and the directing is bolstered by a strong cast led by Sophia Wilde. She plays Mia, who's this depressed teen who has lost a lot, and she is trying to find that next high to fill that gap of loss that's in her heart and the trauma that she is going through. Sophia Wilde is asked to do a lot in this film, and I think she knocks it out of the park. From acting like the depressed teen is going through these different stages of grief throughout this film, but also when she's possessed, oh my God, that scene gripped me right away. It felt so intense. I felt like I wasn't even breathing when it was happening, and once it was done, I could exhale.
What was it?
What? I don't know!
I let you in. Oh my God.
And I want to give Miranda Otto a shout out. I've been a fan of her because of the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, that show that was on Netflix. She plays a completely different character here, which shows a lot of range. She plays the mom and she brings some levity and fun into the movie, the movie is mostly very intense. There's some fun moments with the kids as well, but she brings a lot of fun moments in there and brings the intensity when she needs to as well. She was like the one adult that was mostly in the movie and she did a great job. This movie is haunting in its themes and the way they execute them and take their time to explain it all. Grief, loss, trauma, and the way things and demons, you trying to fight your demons, but it seems like physical demons, and how sometimes you can't overcome them and sometimes you can, and how those demons can affect the other ones and the other people around you that love you. Oh, it was done so well. It's so gripping. It will hold onto you tight. And I think that this movie's ending is one of the best movie endings that I've seen all year. Probably the best ending of a movie I've seen all year. I was completely shocked that they did it the way they did it. And I just didn't see it coming. The execution, the writing, and the directing of it was just top notch. This movie is directed by Australian directors, acted by Australian actors, is set in Australia. I'm not sure if they shot in Australia itself, but A lot of times the characters may have their accent on thick and I didn't understand some of the things they were saying, or they were using slang that I didn't know that was specifically for, Australia. So sometimes there was like a bit of a disconnect for me in terms of the characters and not attaching to some of the side characters as much. Mia, completely understood her and loved her. But some of the other characters I couldn't get attached to because of the acts and things like that. That's just like a personal thing for me. Sometimes I couldn't understand what they were saying in the film itself. And while I love the camera work and the themes and the story itself and how it felt so fresh, there are parts of the film that does hit certain beats here that, like those other films that I talked about, that it reminded me of, that you kind of can predict what's going to happen and it doesn't surprise you as much as certain parts, especially in the middle of the film. And I wish that they found a way to freshen those parts up to make this movie feel wholly original. Man, this was the best horror movie I've seen this year so far. And I think that this movie put these two directors from YouTube on my radar. I'm excited to see what they come up with next because they wrote and directed this film. And I think this is another feather in the cap for A24. This is one of the best films that they've put out personally that I think, and I've watched a lot of their films and I love a lot of their films. It's not as good as Hereditary, but it does have some of those vibes. It's like just a bit of a step down from Hereditary in terms of quality. But with that said, I'm going to give Talk to Me a B+. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate Talk to Me if you've seen it already? And if you have not, are you going to be checking out based on my review? Let me know all your favorite parts of the film if you've seen it. And let me know if you have any questions about the film if you're worried about checking it out. Especially if you're not super horror fan. Drop all those comments down below, like the video to get this video popping, subscribe to the channel, and hit this notification bell so you can be notified my reviews, reactions, live discussions, and join this growing community and get watching my content right now.